What's going on, you guys? It's Matt Pinella with Matt Bangs Wood, and I am out here in sunny Seattle. It's a warm one today, talking with Brian Euler of Pioneer Builders. We're gonna go over a handful of things such as how to weather a storm, how to play the long game with contracting, and more. Brian, thank you for having me.
Thanks for having me here.
Stoked to be back out here. It's nice.
It is gorgeous today.
So for anybody watching that might not know your backstory, your brother's backstory, your family, give them a little bit as far as who you are.
So, second generation builder. Dad started the company before I was even born. I really took over maybe 10 years or so ago, but I started working for the company when I was maybe 17 years old. And I went to high school and college simultaneously for 11th and 12th grade. Took a lot of classes on finance and accounting. So eventually I was doing the books for Dad, but I was also the cleanup grunt guy, just grabbing materials, hauling them around, keeping things organized. And then just over time, continued taking on responsibility until I run the show.
So did both you and your brother grow up in this industry and grow up on the job site with Dad?
We did, but I would say Timmy was much more inclined to be in construction.
Yeah.
When I was in like 9th grade, you go through the things of what you're gonna be when you grow up.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be I didn't actually want this, but it was a computer network administrator.
Okay.
So, because it had a high salary. So that was kind of the idea, at least. I was not gonna be in construction. I think one of the reasons is Dad, bless his heart, would tell me what to do with no explanation why. So I'd just be digging a ditch. And yes, you can get it done, but it was like this, no appeal to me whatsoever to do that for a living.
Yeah.
And then eventually it just kind of made sense. I started a company, we built a house, made good money on it, and I looked at where I was at in college, the classes I had already taken, and it was like, I don't think it makes any sense to continue going for a bachelor's because I've learned everything that I need to know for what I'm gonna be doing. That's kind of how that happened.
Awesome. And then as far as backstory, you guys are a spec builder out here. How long have you guys been building in this specific area? Has it been since the inception of the company?
Yeah, Dad started in Bremerton in the late 70s. This is Allen, which is just a stone's throw away. So basically Kitsap County, Mason County, but we've always been mostly within about a half an hour commute of where we live.
That's awesome. So I've been following Brian and his brother for years now on social, and you know, one of the things that stood out to me the most is you pay more attention to a lot of the mechanical sides of building more than most builders do. And I'm curious, you know, paying attention to the different components that you have going into a build as opposed to just subcontracting and hoping for the best. What has that done for you over the years?
It's made me as efficient as I possibly can be. The amount of time, if something goes wrong, completely sucks away my time from being an actual producer. So it's kind of the opportunity cost of my time to have to go back and fix something. So if I can figure out, we are the accumulation of thousands of mistakes and errors. Years ago, I read an article and it said that there's 3 types of builders. The one type of builder just drives around like a chicken with his head cut off trying to fix things.
Absolutely, putting out fires.
Putting out fires. The other one does the same thing, but is really good at fixing things. And the third one figures out why it broke down in the first place so it doesn't happen again.
Proper planning.
So I think that's one of the biggest things for me is if you fail an inspection or there's a question or there's some language that's used that you don't know what it means, now we've got ChatGPT that is like extremely helpful to accelerate our learning, but ultimately it just makes me get way more done in a shorter amount of time.
Is there a certain phase of the building that you like more than others, that you pay more attention to per se?
No, honestly, I like every single element of construction. Whether it's design development all the way through to punch lists. That's kind of how my personality is though, is other than insurance audits. That is the only element of my job that every year when it comes up, as the kids say, that makes me cringe. But other than that, I enjoy it. I would say growing up and even now, when you first start clearing a property and the smell of the soil as you're on site with the machinery, and way back in the day we could burn our stumps and everything, so we'd sit like all night fire watch.
No, that's cool.
Really good memories working with my dad and then a guy that he worked with back in the 70s all the way up until he finally retired.
I was talking to Tim the other day about it. I'm recently going into pre-construction for a new project of mine. He was telling me that you guys aren't using an architect on everything. You have a draftsperson, and that helps keeps costs down a little bit lower, right?
Yeah, you're in California,
Correct.
or are you going to be
Correct.
in Oregon, or?
No, that's in California.
So typically, there's certain thresholds within what's required to have an architectural license versus what can just be an architectural designer. So it's not just a drafter. You definitely want somebody who understands spatial relationships, architectural style and things. But an architect is so far beyond that. They can do commercial structures. Life safety is so much more of a big thing. So I think a lot of people are into the residential world.
Yeah.
An architect can do so much more with their background. Single family residences are fairly simple from a code compliance perspective. So you don't have to pay somebody who went to college and has debt to service and all of those types of things. Therefore, their billings that they bill you will cost less because they just didn't have the same amount of background.
I was talking to Tim about that, and right now, so my architectural cost is $15,000 just to draw up the home, and I have my wife designed the place. She has layout of everything. We're well aware of sizing of rooms, bathrooms, etc. And Tim's asking me, he goes, "Why are you paying that much when you know what you want? You know the pitch, you know the style, you know what you're after?" And I figured I would talk to you about that because it's always a...
There are some advantages to an architect's stamp. Number one, their knowledge.
Yeah.
But number two, having a stamp will make it go through permitting faster, typically. They might see some spatial things that if they've been doing it for 30 years, they might say, well, have your door swing this way or that. They're people, though, I would say, just like anybody else. So have you ever heard the joke, what do you call the doctor who graduated last in his class? Doctor. What it means is just because somebody has a title doesn't mean that you can take it to the bank that they're the expert.
Yeah.
So if you hire a licensed architect, they're going to be people just like everybody else.
They can make mistakes as well.
They can make mistakes, including some pretty big ones. So at the end of the day, the buck stops with you as the owner. In my case, the buck stops with me because I'm the owner builder.
Yeah.
And I am very much responsible for whatever happens.
So what would you do in my case? Would you go through and pay the $15,000 for an architect, or would you have a draftsman do it that's capable? And
if I was doing some extremely specialized things,
we're talking an A-frame, it's fairly simple.
I would actually get online and look at like Alan Mascord's websites, plans, Frank Betts. They have designs online that are probably pretty good for what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And then they may already have the engineering that you can just hire them out because they've already engineered it for that plan.
And we'd be good to go.
And you'd be good to go.
That's good to know. So Brian, I wanted to ask you, in construction, we focus a lot on the stock market, we focus a lot on the housing market. You guys have been around since when?
1978.
So you guys went through the late 80s with the high interest rates, early 2000s, 2008, 2020 and more. How have you guys managed to stay afloat through all of it?
You want to know our highest interest rate that we ever had? Construction lending was 21 or 22%.
Really?
Yeah, that was in the early 80s.
Everybody's talking about sixes as if it's very bad, but you know, the 80s we had high interest rates on mortgages as well.
I could talk to you for hours about this, but what are you getting for a savings rate or in your money market account? So those things can tend to track.
Yeah.
Anyway, I could get into historical finance, but I don't think you're interested in that. I would say the biggest thing is to know your numbers. I know people say that all the time, but I still do all of our job costing. I still run our payroll. I do so much of the number side. It's just completely baked into my being. If you know your numbers, then you don't charge pricing based off of your gut feel. Again, a story of if I don't know how I'm making money, like maybe I'm making money, but I don't know how, then I don't know what I might end up screwing up to where I'm losing money. So that's one of the big things is how to use simple spreadsheets, keep it as easy as possible. Your cost inputs, maybe just little things. If you're self-performing, what my dad did is he paid himself a wage as a framer. So he was able to earn a living as a carpenter. You take that as part of your job costing and you build the entire sales price out of that. It's not double dipping, you're self-performing.
Yeah.
And if you're doing, like this flooring right here, we're doing in-house.
Oh, okay.
So instead of us having to pay for a subcontractor's markup, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, we get to do all of this. We get to charge the markup, and we're taking on the liability. So figuring out what makes sense for us to self-perform and which things to sub out, mark up their costs, we can mark up ours, or conversely, it might give us a little bit of wiggle room. And I think something for Dad, he just wanted to make sure he put food on the table. So he didn't have this grandiose plan. At first it was like, just earn wages.
Yeah, make a living.
And then it went from there.
I think a lot of people get stuck into the idea that to be a successful builder or a contractor, you need to just be subcontracting everything out and then hiring. People hire way too fast and they fire way too slow. I think we can get into the weeds with all sorts of things there, but as far as running lean, you guys are self-performing what exactly on this building?
On this one, so we did all of the structural foundation work, which was quite a bit on this one. All of this structural framing, all of the cladding, window installation. We're doing some of the flooring ourselves. On the high performance side, I perform our own blower door, at least as a test before the HERS rater comes in. You know, obviously things like cleanup, which I used to not care for, but now it is like my happy place. Put in your earbuds, listen to a podcast, and just work.
Go to town.
It is so great.
I'm sure it's lessened over the years, but any major surprises when building homes like that? You've built a similar model multiple times. Do you feel like since you know the numbers so well and you know what goes into these, is there any surprises that come up where it's like, hey, we need an extra $50,000 out of this place?
No. In fact, if you want to see me kind of lose my mind, it's...
What's that dollar range?
Well, it would be pretty shocking if I had much of a variance at all.
Really?
Yeah, I would say some of the things, site work can be very project specific. That one has gone up tremendously. And part of it, in our experience, if we can work with the same subcontractor and have an extremely good relationship and be the best bill payer, the best communicator, the best have the project ready to make their life as efficient as possible, they don't jack up their prices.
Makes it a good partnership.
And so if I can work with them, I mean, if you could have seen, we had an older gentleman here that I've known for like 20 years. He's in his 70s. He let his business license go. He was helping us and training Greg to install this flooring. I'm gonna pay him wages. If you have those types of friendships, now when he's gone, if I hired this out, the current market rate is going to be more because subs tend to not be raising their rates if you stick with them for 15, 20, 30 years. But if you have to start fresh, it might be current rates, and you might have to train them to do things the way you want them done within reason. I'll branch for just a second. I try to know pretty much everything that I possibly can about how to do something. I could never make money being a drywall hanger.
No, you and me both.
But I could hang it. And I can see, talk about where to have joints and things like that. If you hire somebody brand new and they're young and green, they might just be making all sorts of errors that creep into callback costs later, like we talked about earlier. So that's another part of it, is reducing your callbacks. A little tip, have not a contingency, but a callback line item in your budget for callbacks. So if you're building a $1 million house, it's almost like your own insurance policy.
Yeah.
And you just put $2,000 in there.
You bake that in so that you have it in the future.
You've got it, and let's just say you build 10 houses and you've got one catastrophic issue. And you didn't have to use it on these ones, but you banked it to where now you don't have to go to your insurance company.
You create your own insurance policy that you could take that, and that's really smart.
Exactly.
I
So
like
that's
that.
a little something. We have a little line item there for, so if you're self-financed, you can put in a line item for what a loan fee would be, because you're your own bank. You should be paid for that. If you have, maybe the house would have $15,000 in interest with the bank, but if you're self-financing, you get that $15,000.
Do you think a lot of people, when they self-perform things, like I can tell you firsthand that I do it myself. Granted, my project, whether it be my renovation or my cabin, I don't necessarily factor in my time, and I think I should.
Absolutely. you
Because that's
should.
a huge variable in these things. And I just think of it not as like, okay, this is all profit at this point, because I know my time is valuable. Do you think that people do that with client work and kind of bury themselves?
So many people do cost plus, which I won't touch in general with a 10-foot pole.
Really?
We always do fixed price contracts. So let's just say that I had multiple jobs going and I had to have superintendents.
Yeah.
I am the superintendent. I would have to hire somebody to oversee the job. That's value in the marketplace that X builder over here has to charge.
Absolutely.
So I should be a competitive price with that, but I get the win in capitalism because I get to do it all myself. So the more efficient I am, I don't have to hire a human resources guy. I don't have to hire an accountant. I don't have to do these types of things if I can do them myself, which makes me able to kind of coast through some of the lean times, because what am I going to do if I have all this stuff hired out and the bottom falls out and I can't do any of it?
Do you feel like that's a big problem nowadays, is that people are so quick to delegate all these tasks and just be free and open? Like, I know a lot of people that just run around job site to job site, put out fires like you said, but they don't deal with their accounting. They don't know the numbers behind their business, and they kind of just rely on other people.
Yeah. To get into like the fitness industry a little bit, there's an expression, your body reflects exactly the activity and the food that you put into it. Your business is going to reflect exactly your mindset for every decision you make or choose not to make. If you're not intentional about every decision from the design side to the finance side, the whole thing is very interrelated, just like the human body. And if somebody is like, well, I don't want to look at my fitness tracker, or I've heard of somebody who literally will doctor their sleep score to make it look better. And I think that's a mentality that's out there right now, is I don't want to know. I'm like a horse with my blinders on, and I'm just going to keep going, because if I do know, it's going to freak me out.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
So Brian, I appreciate you talking me through a handful of things. Being fairly new to that side of building, it's nice to hear from you what I should or shouldn't be doing, and also just getting advice in general. I'm curious, for anybody out there watching that maybe wanted to be a subcontractor or a builder, developer, whatever it may be, if you had one solid piece of advice, what would it be?
Learn as much as you can. So I have a series of podcasts I listen to. I have literal hard copy books that I read. I follow people on social media that I can learn from, a variety of different construction and design disciplines, and just view the taking in of knowledge as one brick at a time. And before you know it, you'll have an entire building that is bricked. And then also spend a lot of time thinking, which is like the mortar that allows all of that to connect together. But never, ever stop learning, and try to do at least one thing better every day that you didn't do as well the previous day. I
love that. That was great. Thank you for having me out here. Thank you for walking me through this beautiful home. I think I walked through that one as well, correct?
You did.
That's awesome. I'm gonna come back in a few years and we'll walk 10 more of them. But that's gonna be it on today's episode. If you wanna follow Brian, you wanna follow Tim, links are in the description down below. My name is Matt Pinella with Matt Bangs Wood. I'll see you guys next time.